In the year 130 AD, Roman Emperor Hadrian arrived in the British Isles. He was so concerned for the safety of his Roman army, so worried about the boundaries of his Roman Empire, that he ordered the construction of this, Hadrian's Wall. Not only did the wall here draw a monstrous and brutal scar right across the British landscape, dividing the country in two, but it also dominated and guided British politics and history for almost 1700 years. The country was never the same again, and the scar still remains. Hadrian built his wall here to divide his Roman Empire from the madmen of the north. The Scots, the Caledonians, the Picts, the wild men, mad men who were hell-bent on freedom and liberation of their country. Men like me. The Romans made forays into Scotland, or Caledonia as they called it, and they did build forts and camps, but nothing really remains north of the wall. It's all been destroyed. Or so I thought. There is one legendary Roman site north of the wall, which I believe has connections not only to a mythical Roman legion, but connections to a legendary British war leader also. Coincidentally, this is the most photographed tree in the British Isles apparently, Sycamore Gap, made famous by Kevin Costner's Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves film. In roughly 109 AD, the 9th Legion of Rome left where they had been based in York and headed north and made their way into Caledonia. That was the last that was ever heard of the 9th Legion of Rome. What happened to them? Well, nobody knows for sure, but I have a theory. The 9th Legion were a renowned army, a notorious fighting machine that had won many battles and victories on the continent and in England. Nobody knows why they were going into Scotland, but it was the last move they ever made. A couple of hundred years after the Roman invasion, these borderlands were still a war zone, but now the invaders were Angles and Saxons from the Germanic lands. A small band of British warriors still survived in these hills. The 6th century warriors of Great Britain were led by a man who would transcend the bounds of history books and become a myth, a legend. That was the man who became known as King Arthur. The story, the character, but Arthur was real and he survived here in the north of England and south of Scotland. And Arthur and the 9th Legion, I believe, have a destination in common, and that is where I'm heading now. As Hadrian's armies marched north, there were many marching camps and forts built, but there was one that was built to a far higher specification, far stronger fortifications than all the others. Why and where? The village of Rochester here in England has a claim to fame. The last village in England if you're travelling north, or the first village in England if you're travelling south. But all around this tiny, unassuming village are clues to great antiquity and a place maybe of some importance. Stone circles, huge cairns. Because apparently Rochester here is the site of Bremenium Roman fort. Now, Bremenium was a site, like countless others built by the Romans along Deer Street, a fort, men garrisoned here. But when you start to look closer to the history, it wasn't like any others. What intrigues me about Bremenium here is it was the most heavily defended fort in the whole of the British Isles. 13 layers of ditches around the outside of it. Huge thick walls, much thicker than any other fort in the British Isles. And it also had platforms built inside the fort to house huge catapults. Catapults usually used in attack, but in Bremenium here, they were used in defence. Why? Beginning to see the scars in the landscape here, the ditches and outbuildings or whatever it was that was here. And if you look closely at the farmers' dikes or walls in this area, they're all built from this amazingly well cut and regular stone, which has obviously been plundered from the fort in years gone by. You can see the ditches here, but there were 13 layers of these ditches, 13. The Romans were clearly very concerned about their safety in this place. Structure at the bottom here. Wow. Now remember, this is a working farm. This is not the World UNESCO Heritage Site of Hadrian's Wall. This is archaeology in action. Which is intriguing me about this whole site is it was built in 3 phases. Initially, when the Romans made their first foray into Caledonia, sort of 78 to 84 AD, it was probably wooden and turf embankments in those days. But soon after the disappearance of the 9th Legion, roughly 110 to 130 AD, this place began to be heavily fortified. They began to build it in stone, they began to put all these massive ditches. What were they scared of? Were the 9th Legion here? Or in the area? Was this land of the southern Picts, the Selgovae, the Scotsmen? Was this where the 9th Legion met their end? is the only information you get at this site, a small wooden cross. Nothing else. For almost 2 centuries, when the Roman army had withdrawn from Scotland, the likes of Trimontium and the Antonine Wall, Rochester here, or Bremenium, was the farthest northern outpost of the Roman Empire. It must have been one of the worst postings a young soldier in the Roman army could hope to get. Posted up here, this bitter climate in the middle of nowhere.
I'm here to get my posting, sir.
Name?
Claudius Maximus Murilius Decimus. Where am I going? Spain? Cyprus? Not Germany, please, not Germany.
You're going to Caledonia, son. Bremenium.
Bremenium? Ah, for sake. No!
No!
Of course, nobody will ever truly know what happened to the 9th Legion. It's a mystery that it will remain that way forever. Most scriptwriters or novelists tend to put the story in Scotland, sometimes maybe a bit further north. But for me, this here was bandit country. This was where the Romans were scared. This was where something had happened to make them construct this massively fortified structure. This for me is close to the place where the 9th Legion met their end. Sections of the fort like this are amazing. You can see the modern farm wall at the top, probably constructed from stone that came from the fort. But underneath here is the original fort brickwork. Wow, amazing. You just don't see that north of the wall. The south side of the structure here is the most impressive. You can still see the gate here, and it looks like English Heritage or the likes are doing some works finally to restore this place. If I move this curtain here, you can still see the carved pillar which would have held an arch over this gateway. It's absolutely amazing. All the way along the south side here, we can see the brick of the original fort, these huge, incredibly square blocks that mark the gate. Then further still along the south side of the fort here, we can see these massive blocks exposed. 2,000 years old. Just think what these have all seen. Amazing. Forgotten. But the fort and the site here at Bremenium is still a military zone. You can hear the British Army training in the background there just now. It's also close to the site of the Battle of Otterburn. But there was another battle here that I'm interested in, a couple of hundred years after the Romans left. Real factual text written about King Arthur was the Historia Britannium, written only a couple of hundred years, 300 years even, after Arthur's death by a person called Nennius. In it, Nennius describes 12 battle sites where Arthur was victorious, and one of those battle sites is a Celtic one, Bregion. But Bregion roughly translates to the Roman Bremenium. So this was a site of one of King Arthur's battles. Now, you can see the preservation in that fort these days, so you can imagine just a couple of hundred years after the Romans left, this was still an immense structure. I believe that Arthur and his army of Britons defending us from the Anglo-Saxons coming up that valley there from the south and the east used the fort as a cavalry fort with a great lookout position and a fantastic defensive point. Arthur would have used Bremenium here as a base, guarding the thoroughfare of Deer Street, which would have still been a great road, a road of attack for the Anglo-Saxons coming north. But Arthur and his battle-hardened army stood here fast, and a battle ensued here which they won. Arthur came here, the Roman legions came here, the Pictish warriors from Scotland came here. A real battleground. And now the British Army come here and continue the military traditions of this place. So why not come here yourself and see it? I know some people will think it's a massively fanciful story, completely unbelievable. But surely it's just as believable as finding the most heavily fortified Roman fort in the Roman Empire being used as a farm storage. The Romans invested so much wealth and time and men in this place, but ultimately they were unsuccessful. As I've said many times before, the Scots drove them out. There were other things happening in the Roman Empire at the same time, but they never got a hold on Scotland like they did in the rest of the Mediterranean and Europe and North Africa. They could never defeat the wild men of Scotland.